Alright, hello everyone. We are here with Shane and David from River Paranormal. They've got all their gear out here pulled out, displayed for us. This is what the gear we're going to be using tonight and featuring during our investigation. But they're going to go ahead and give us a rundown of some of what this gear is. Like, I don't know what that is. We'll find out. But anyway, you guys have a lot of gear, and it looks pretty pricey. But anyway, let's turn the time over to you and let you guys kind of explain what you're working with here.
Yeah, I can give you a base dollar. I mean, on this table right now, definitely $10,000 worth.
Wow.
For sure. First thing I'm going to start with is a SLS camera. What this guy basically does is it projects green dots, like hundreds, in a room. And what you do is if you walk in front of it, the dots will map you and they'll do a skeleton figure. So the idea that spirits have a type of mask that when they walk in front of it, you'll see them get mapped on it. This right here is an SB11. It's going to be a counterpart to the SB7 that you'll be shown to. And basically what this is, it's got two channels compared to the one channel that a SB7 has. And so you can run one in reverse, run forward, FM, and AM at the same time. And it also does temperature, and it's got a red light on it as well. So you can see in the dark, so you're not tripping and falling. And this is just a speaker that we can hook to any of our stuff that has sound, an external speaker, because SB7's internal speaker is not the greatest, so definitely use that. Here I got two EDI meters. Obviously there's one has a plus on it, the other one's regular. This is just very standard stuff. What it does, temperature, EMF sensor, and then the geophone. So it's pretty simple. And then the only difference between that and this one is it's got different things up here. So what this does, it does the temperature. So if the temperature decreases or increases by 5 degrees, which is pretty significant, the lights will flash. It measures the pressure in the environment and the humidity. And it also has a nifty little thing where it records all your stats on an SD card that you can pull off. And then, yeah. This is just a footstep tracker. It's pretty simple. Just tap and it tracks footsteps. And sensitivity is crazy. Like, you can go pretty freaking high, which I don't even know why you would need that as a but this is a trifilm meter. It's a different counterpart to the original analog one, but it basically does the same thing. So it does it in milligauss. So right now, currently in here, it's 0.7 milligauss. If there's anything that jumps in static or anything, it will pick up. It also does electrical and voltmeters, and it'll also do Wi-Fi, so it can pick up if there's any heavy Wi-Fi in the area. These two are basically the same thing. The original one's an updated version of it. So basically what it is, it's a motion type thing. So blue light means it's doing its little thing. This one takes about like a minute. You put it in a room, turn it on, and it acclimates the room, and then either side it'll do it. But so basically, it's basically what that does. Let's see. This is the Ovilus 5. It's one of my most used pieces of equipment that I use. I like it. It's very tricky for some people to understand it because it's got a dictionary in it and it spits out words. But what's interesting about it is, so it'll spit out words. But these words don't have to mean anything because it's based off of energy. And that's what these two antennas do. They pick up the energy. And the point is to ask intelligent questions and get those responses to your question via the word. And I think it can also just pick up the energy of a person, the environment. It'll just spit out a word based on different energy. But it's very tricky to understand and use, but the more you use it, I think the more you kind of understand it. This is called the Renaissance EM. It's made from the same company as the Ovilus, and it definitely has a EM pump in it, which most people use to dispute energy into the atmosphere for spirits to be able to use to communicate, but it's also got different functions. It's got a white noise generator on it, so if you're using stuff like the SB11 or 7 or anything else, it will generate white noise, so it's easier for you to understand what's coming through the devices. And it's also got a wave mode and a siren mode, which basically all they are is it's a type of beacon almost to draw spirits into the room that you're in when it's using it. That's not even half. We got more to go.
I was gonna say we'll edit this part out when I talk right here, but when we get maybe like down here, we'll have Shane describe some
His stuff, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna go about right here.
Right there, and then we'll switch. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, and continue. We'll edit that out.
Okay. This thing is basically a electronic version of like a K2 meter, basically. It does like the same thing, but it's also got a temperature mode, and it measures it in milligauss. So you can change it, and it'll measure in milligauss. And it's also got a backlight, if I can get it to work properly. There we go. So yeah, basically that's what it is. The sensor's right here on top, and yeah, it works just like a K2 and milligauss, and it also works like a tri-field. It's just these different things kind of do the same thing, but they have different type of sensors to measure the same thing, but differently, because we don't really know what spirits do to trip some of these stuff. So it's good to have kind of the same thing, but goes about a different way in trying to measuring it to try to capture what spirits can emit off. This is a cross-house thermal, pretty simple. Just heat, and then it goes blue when it's cold, and it just kind of tells you the general direction in which it's capturing it. Pretty straightforward. This thing I don't really use much, but I can go over it too. Basically, just static. So these lights blink, and the more static energy there is, the more it goes up. I got this because I like it. It's basically like a digital recorder, but in a watch. And I like it because I can just put it on me, have it going, and it works really good. The sound on it's actually surprisingly decent for it being on a watch and not, it's designed, that's all it does is, try to get EVPs, and that's definitely what this does. And I like it. It works good. It holds up to 8 gigs of sound, and it's a decent amount. And we just got various different lights that we use from Ghost Light. Definitely our favorite type of lights that we use when we film in our projects. Very good made and not bad pricing for the type of lights that we've used. I got huge lights. This one does UV in the middle and then IR, and what it is that's just different type of spectrums that like night vision cameras can see and stuff, so it helps us see what you can't see with your own eyes. And then this is just a 360 camera, so it's really tiny. And the camera is right there, and you just put it in the middle of the room and you hook it up to your phone, and you can see the entire field of view. Like if you put this in the middle, you can see the entire room. It's pretty cool. It does shoot in 4K. And that's me. That's my stuff.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane, owner and lead investigator of River Paranormal. So we just saw David outline some of his equipment that he has here. This is some of the stuff that I usually bring. We'll start from left to right. Now, listening to David talk about some of his equipment, especially with like the 360 camera, it comes with a 360 puck, so that way it has infrared lights all the way around. So when we do set that in a establishment inside of a room, every single portion of that room is going to be lit up with the infrared light. Now, some of our stuff here, obviously we have our infrared lights. Now these are made by Ghost Light, like some of the ones that David has. We are sponsored by Ghost Light. These are by far the best lights on the market. We usually run action cameras. These run 170 degrees of viewing. So it's perfect for an action camera when you place it in a room in a corner and you see the whole entire room and it lights it right up. Now, David has a lot of digital meters, and so do I, but I try to keep it traditional with the OG K2 meter with the stand. When the stand came out, it took me about a year for me to get it, and I regret not getting it from day one. It's the best thing ever. But the K2 meter is just your basic OG style EM meter. So you turn it on, it equalizes for a couple seconds, then you're good to go. And then you can check and see if there's any high EM spikes or anything like that. Now, some of these are going to look pretty familiar to you. The regular REM pod. This REM pod here actually does the temperature functions as well. So this one's a little bit more, but you're getting a lot with this piece of equipment. And for testing sakes, we decided to try Paraforce's version of the REM Master. And so far it's worked pretty well. It does the same thing as the REM pod. It just has one more extra light, has the antenna, you go near it, and then it goes off. In regards to static, we have the periscope. Basically, this lights up if it senses any type of static energy that's super close to it. The theory is that spirits put off static energy. That's why they made that particular piece of equipment. Personally, I've only seen this gone off a handful of times, but when it's gone off, it's epic. This piece of equipment right here, the PMB Ghost Box. This is by far my favorite piece of equipment that I've purchased to date. All it is just a simple box with an infrared sensor on the end. The sensor goes out like 5-10 feet, so it's not that long. You turn it on, you let it do its thing, and if something crosses the infrared sensor, it starts making noise. And I'll give you guys an example. And that's basically all it does.
Very creepy.
Very creepy. This is the Spirit Vibes. This basically picks up any type of vibrations, footsteps, stuff like that, just like how this one does. This one is adjustable. It does have a dial on it, so you can adjust the sensitivity of it. That's my newest piece of equipment. I'm still testing it out and see how I like it. You got the regular Sony and Olympus digital recorders. These have been by far the best. Then we have a plethora of action cameras. Now, there's obviously a lot of action cameras on the market. There's going to be the OG GoPro, and then you're going to have all the off-brands. Personally, I've tried some of them. I prefer the SJ cams. The SJ cams have been by far the best action camera that I've ever used. The only thing is we had to modify them so that way it can work for our investigations. So if you take a look at this one and this one, actually this one, there's two different versions. They're both SJ 4000 Wi-Fi action cameras. This one's the newest version. It's got the bigger screen. This one's the older version with the smaller screen. The modifications that I had to do to these cameras, the microphones on these weren't the greatest, so I actually had to solder on an external microphone port so that way I can put on a microphone and actually hear what's going on. And I also had to tear apart the front to take the lens off to take the IR cut filter out of this, and then had to screw it on and readjust it so that way it can focus. With the SJ7 Star, this is the newest one that I have. They did a lot of upgrades to the microphones. This one actually has two microphones, so you actually get pretty good quality, plus you have an external microphone you can actually plug into on the side. The only thing I had to do with this was I had to take the IR cut filter out. That's basically all I did. This is a 4K action camera, but you can do anything from 720p all the way up to 4K. This is the original SB7 Spirit box that we usually pair up to our Antec Lansing speaker. Android's version of the FLIR. We use that with my Samsung tablet. This is a EM pump. So basically, there's a motor with some magnets and stuff like that, and some copper on the inside, and it produces EMF when it's turning. And we use this particularly when activity dies down, and we give the spirits more energy to interact with us. This is the millimeter. This one's the more up-to-date, advanced version. So it still does temperature, it still does EMF and everything, but it also has the geophone. And it also does a different type of temperature as well as the buttons on the back say. These two here, the thermal scope and the electric scope. Basically, this is an analog version of like this, the K2, stuff like that. It measures EMF statically. This one measures temperature. One side will go blue and one side will go red. And then last but not least, this bad boy right here, the Direct Link FX 2.0, made by Jay Prather. So far, this has been the best piece of equipment that I've ever tested and been on investigations. Technically, how it works, it's a kind of like a hybrid between an SP7 and SP11. You can still modify the volume with this knob, the sweep rate with this knob. It only sweeps one way, but the best thing is, it has no antenna. There's a hole right there that you put your finger on, and the speaker gets louder and it uses you as an antenna. So if there's any spirits in here that want to communicate, they literally have to talk to you and their voice will come through the box. So all you have to do is just turn it on and see how loud it is now. Put my finger on it. And so far, I've really enjoyed that piece of equipment. The first couple investigations I had with it, nothing was really coming through, but when we did a residential, the spirits were very talkative that night, and they were using that to communicate with us. Yeah, that's basically it. Obviously, we have other stuff, like mounts, tripods, other lights, and stuff like that, but these are the primary pieces of equipment that we use on every investigation.
Right. Awesome.
All right.